Yeah, there is literally no way I'm going to do this without pissing off everyone. Oh my god. This is going to hurt. Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to shoot myself in the foot. We are going to go over the top 10 Abridged series on YouTube as of 2018. Now, before we go any further, this needs to be said, spoilers. Very many spoilers. If you haven't seen any of the Abridged on this list, or any Abridges before, stop watching here unless you are okay with spoilers, because I will not hold back, because I speak stream of consciousness, so it really doesn't happen that way. That said, if you're okay with that, we will move on. There are going to be a few criteria I'm going to look into to what to get on this list, because there are a lot of good shows out there that I would love to include on this list, but there's also a lot of really good one-shots that just don't really make it in. So this will be series specifically. Multiple episodes, they have to have at least something of length, just to show that they're a series, not just a one-and-done type deal. That said, this is also a very personal list. It's based on what I've seen, and I have seen a lot of Abridged series. That's pretty much my channel at this point, and I'm okay with that. But, again, personal choice is important. Okay, now let's get into the actual nitty-gritty. The qualities I am looking for are not just the length of the Abridged. It has to be multiple episodes. It can only be one Abridged from one production company, which is why I'm not just going to go through the top 10 all of what Team 4 has done, because that would be unfair. It could happen, and it wouldn't be wrong, because they have multiple Abridged series now, and they're all kind of amazing. The next aspect will be general quality of the Abridged. Not just is it funny, but is every episode in the series amazing. Not, okay, it started rough and then it got great. I'm talking shows that are amazing. From start to finish, they can start off good and get better, but they have to hit every note to start with and just improve. It can't be great and then it drops off. It can't be, and then it gets amazing. I'm looking for things that are so fundamentally a virtuoso piece of editing, of voice acting, of finding the right joke at the right time and writing it, and then making it fit. It has to be amazing. Which is a really kind of fucked up bar to go over, because that is very hard to reach. I found 10 people who I think actually reach that bar. The hardest part here wasn't finding people who can reach it. It was finding only 10. God knows, I'm going to maybe mention a few honorable mentions later, and there will be more than a few, and they'd be completely deserving on this list. But these top 10 are ones that I will justify, and we're going to see just how much everyone wants to beat me in the face for doing this. This is going to be the top 10 Abridged series on YouTube as of 2018. Let's get started. Starting off the list at number 10 is already probably going to be a contentious pick. What a surprise. This is going to be Death Note Abridged by Charleston VO.
Light, can you read the next sentence? No.
This show is on this list because it is a very solid interpretation of how to invert a character. First, you take what they do, and then you bastardize it to the highest extent possible. In this case, we have the main character, Light, who in Death Note is an evil genius, sometimes so smart he fucks himself over. Personal opinion of his character aside, that is how you look at him. And then there's this. This version of Light is special. That is the nicest way to put it. The more accurate way would be stupid beyond all measure. But there is more to it than just that. Where the regular Light is an amoral, holier than thou asshole who revels in his superiority. This version of Light's just kind of down to earth and chill, and actually is a generally nice person who doesn't understand that writing names in his diary, and seriously, if that wasn't the name of the Abridged, it had to be in the running. If he doesn't understand that, but he doesn't. And this joke is brought home so very early, so very well, by every single bit of his internal monologue. Because what he says is usually stupid. but what he thinks. When you get to hear his narration, you get to see just how oblivious to the situation he is. It's amazing, because the story finds a way to happen as the story dictates, but the character is completely, radically different. And this treatment is passed on to all of the characters. It's not a complete series yet. There's only a few episodes out, and by few I mean not nearly enough, at 8. Maybe 9? No, I'm still not that lucky yet. This series is right around the 8 episode mark. It's been a while since I've watched it. I'm probably going to go rewatch it again because I just enjoy it that much. But what makes this amazing is that they extend the inversion to all of the characters. The dad is just insane in the literal sense of, oh my god, how are you not in a padded room? Everything about the show is an inversion, and they do it so well and play it for such a good laugh. And better off, they take random little jokes that don't matter, that aren't funny, they're just a quick aside. It's like, we need a boat. It's obvious we're being attacked by the fish people. Because in this case, L, who said that, is an idiot. He is a complete and utter idiot. He thinks they're being attacked from the sea, and they need a boat to go out there. And then they run with that joke in every damn episode, up until they get to probably the best part of the entire Abridged so far. And there's a lot of high points, but this one, because of how good it is what cements this show on the list. This is the yacht club scene.
So, I understand this is a place where the sailors gather.
This is a yacht club. Can I help you?
Yes, you see, my associate and I are in need of a vessel of sorts.
I think my friend Jim is out there. He's got a paddle boat. Hey, Jim, do you have an extra seat on the paddle boat for this gentleman here?
Can't talk right now. We're under attack.
Outrageous! We be taking these yachts for ourselves!
It's the pirate. Get 'em, boys!
Use the paddles!
Fucking go, Everbridged!
We've been hit. The boat's got a hole in it. We're going down.
As you can see, I'm a fan. And putting this at 10 was the hardest part of this decision because it is so damn funny. Next up at number 9, we have another contentious decision. Now, I need to clarify this one before I jump into it. This is a very good series. It's something I recommend heavily to anyone just getting into watching Abridging for the first time. Someone who's not quite sure if it's good or not yet, but they have a background in anime. This is Everbridged by Giguk.
AT field detected and analysis pattern confirmed blue. It's an angel.
Well, no shit, Sherlock.
So, after 15 years, the angels have finally returned.
Angels? You mean it's not Godzilla attacking us again?
Sir, Godzilla's a fictional monster.
Liar! What other possible monster could be attacking Tokyo right now?
Now this one, I know, someone's already like, Airier, why are you doing that? That is not an Abridged series that counts. It is only 4 episodes, and there is nothing after that ever, and he has not made any Abridging ever. Okay, that's actually completely fair and accurate. He has not done anything since. There's only 4 episodes. And while it is a series in the sense that it has 4 episodes, it is a very short series. But it's good. This is one of the shows that, because of how memorable its lines are, because of how well delivered, because of how well acted, because of the great consistency of the writing, and that is the important part, consistency, I will recommend this people who don't really know what Abridged is yet. For someone who's in the anime community, but they haven't really got into the Abridging scene, they haven't really heard of it, this is one of the shows I will show them right off the bat. Because it's funny. There's no dead moments. But more than that, what makes this stand out is just how quotable it is. There are multiple scenes that to this day, I still hear Pretty Guardian, my girlfriend, talk about. And this is one of the few Abridges I showed her to start with. More importantly, though, this is very good. For example, the characterization of Misato. It is the same damn character. The characterization of Shinji. It is the same damn character. the characterization of every single person in here, with the exception of Gendo, is the same damn character, but intensified. Unlike the previous one on the list, this show keeps the characters the same, with the exception of Gendo, but just hypes up their flaws, hypes up their stupidity, hypes up their crazy, hypes up the unreality of the situation to establish bullshit as the predominant factor of awesome. What that basically means in a practical sense is everything that happens in the show is not played straight anymore. When something crazy happens and they're all silent, and this one's like, oh my god, in the background, you'll hear people screaming, you'll hear people shouting, you'll hear random shouting in the middle of a match going, it's an angel, it's an angel, it's an angel! And just do that multiple times until the main character, who's trying to be a straight man, fucks it up and loses it. And by that, I don't mean Shinji, because honestly, at this point, he's not really the main character. I say that's Misato because personal opinion. That's just my personal opinion. Fight me. This is something that just excels at one of the best ways to create a standard abridged. Heightening the character tropes. Again, I need to just quickly clarify, with the exception of Gendo, Gendo in this is a rabid idiot. Not the scheming mastermind who has an obviously flawed plan, but his schemes are so intense and he's so focused he misses the obvious flaw. No, this one's just stupid. Very, very stupid. And it's actually played quite well. But everyone else, with the exception of Gendo, is just the same character, intense. They are more insane. They are more undisciplined, actually, very much undisciplined. But they weren't very disciplined to start with because when you really think about it, they really aren't. Yeah. But it works. The jokes are good. And one of the best lines okay, there's actually many best lines, but one that stands out to me as the most memorable is easily everything in the 4th episode, honestly, but everything whenever an angel comes up. And they're all the bridge bunnies, all of them shouting, it's an angel, in different ways. And the scene's getting more tense as they're getting more and more frantic as they say it more and more times. And the entire time you just get little cuts to Misato, grind your teeth, trying to figure it out, trying to keep the cool and act like she's in charge, even though she is, but no one believes it. And finally, she kills the buzz, tells them to stop. It's like, fine, why don't you just be the buzzkill? She's like, fine, it's an angel. And they cut her off and they're all very serious. And you just hear her shout, fuck. And the scene cuts to a new one. And the reason this works is because it cuts into what they've established for the characters. They're all hyped up. But the second she tries to break out of her established character by also joining the fray of the, I was going to say crazy insanity, insanity and crazy. It works either way in this case. It snaps back and they go right back to the situation it was. The reason that's funny though is because it plays on expectation that she'll just go into it and she'll be, hell, hey, I'm in it now too. And then it slaps the watcher in the face by completely snapping around the momentum of, okay, we're in a zany mode, now we're in a serious one. And she's in whiplash, and when we see that, it's funny. Comedy is many things. One of the easiest ways, though, is a change on expectations. It's confronting the expectations. Not always good, usually bad, and it's just funny when done well. This is something that does it well. Alright, next on the list we have number 8. This one is actually not really one episode, not really one show. This is going to be all of the videos specifically by the Schmuck Squad. But because of the format I've chosen, I will narrow that down to their title franchise, or the title series, 7 Deadly Schmucks.
Hey, I'm one of the 7 deadly sins, otherwise known as the Nanatsu no Taizai.
Hey, who's talking about me?
I said Nanatsu, not Natsu, you fuck!
Yeah, okay, good. I don't want my name being dragged into this shit fest of a show.
Okay, so what's your name?
My name's Elizabeth!
Holy shit, that's your voice?
It's kinda fucked up.
These guys are on the list because they're just funny. They are competent, they are very reliable in quality, and they're just really damn good at pointing out all the crazy, stupid things that happen. But then dropping in a little bit of drama without changing the characters in the slightest. And that's literally the reason I have chosen 7 Deadly Schmucks as the one to represent the entire channel, their entire body of work. All of their other shows, the ones I've seen and the ones I've heard amazing things of, they all deserve to be on this list, but because it has to be limited to one series, this is 7 Deadly Schmucks. Specifically, what pulls it to this list is not the humor. That's there. That's hilarious. The characterization, I love it. It's actually very similar, but Meliodas, for example, he is in canon show, not the abridged, canon, a massive perv. Like, oh my god, a bridge level perv in canon. Think about that. They have that there still now. But he's so much more serious, and I just love the accent. And Irish. And it's funny, because everything around him pisses him off, and the voice of the main love interest in this one does not work. And all the characters are stupid in their own way. Smart enough to get by, but dumb enough that they get dragged into all of this crazy mess. And none of that is why it's on the list. What makes it to this list is because of one of the side episodes, where they go over Bond's backstory. And that's a really damn sad episode in canon. And this one starts off hyped up, joking around, making Bond the, "Hey, Captain!" I can't do his accent. I'm not even going to try anymore. That idiot, the happy-go-lucky fool who doesn't give a damn and sounds like he smoked way too many packs of menthols at once, but then somehow guzzled down a bunch of helium, so he still has a rather high voice. Whoever's doing that, honestly, I have no idea how you've maintained actual, throat anything. Like, seriously, you sound like you're tearing yourself apart. Good for you for maintaining it, though. And they get that in there. And they are so damn funny in this 4.5 episode. That's the actual number. It's so funny that you forget you are in the saddest damn part of the canon show. And instead of ignoring that section and moving on to, oh, hey, that happened. Back to a funny story. They take the joking, idiotic character who's dumber, stupider, more irreverent, more downright hilarious at every second. And they hype up all the humor to the point where you forget what you're in. And then they hit you with the exact same feel. But it works because it manages to trick you to forget what you're about to watch. At least in my experience, when I was seeing this for the first time, I had convinced myself that they were just going to skip over the sad parts, make it a noodle incident, and go over everything else, because, you know what, it would completely change the tone of the entire show if they did that. It completely changed the tone of the entire show, and I had to take it much more seriously, because they did something that Abridged struggles with. This is a format of humor. This is a format of crazy, zany, over-the-top assholes who fuck it up, and you laugh at it because it's even more their fault than in canon. Because they are dumber, they are funnier, they are more than they are allowed to be in a serious show. And then they pulled a serious episode without diminishing just how zany they made their characters. I fully respect them as a company because they managed to pull off this. Because they managed to not just make a serious episode, but make the audience, or at least in my case, me, forget that it was a serious episode. So not only did I get all of the heartache again, I had been tricked by skill alone that it was coming. It's one thing to be surprised with something you have no idea about. But when you can make a rerun interesting, when you have something you can watch multiple times and it still hits you, that's insane. They had no way to keep the impact of the episode from being spoiled in advance. So they distracted you with the sheer quality of the humor. And then they gave you a 1-2 punch of, and this is what happened. Elaine died. It's horrible. And unlike the original show, which is still kind of serious and you kind of know something's about to happen because you know she had to die, this one is so much dumber. You fully expect them to find out, oh yeah, by the way, nah, she lived. We're just going to put in like a little stick figure. It's like, oh yeah, hey, there's Elaine. It wouldn't be the dumbest thing I've seen. They didn't do that. No, they kept her dead, like in canon. But they made Bond sympathetic in ways that his dumbass character didn't seem likely to achieve. Because he's just so silly. I'm probably repeating myself a lot, but I need to get this down. This is something that I truly respect. And it's why they're on this list, because they achieved something amazing. And it was awesome. Don't get me wrong, the later episodes are good too, but this one just did it better. And keep in mind, the stipulation I had at the beginning is that every episode has to be really damn good, if not great. This is just the best one. And it's not even a mainline episode. It's just good.
You go ahead and drink it.
Goddamn idiot.
I guess it's time to say bon voyage.
Next up we have number 7, but I will say right off the bat, 6 and 7 are so damn close that I'm just going to do them together. These two are in no particular order because they are just good, but they are just good in the exact same way. This is Slap On Titan by Tom Andre and Unlimited Blade Works Abridged by Project Mouthwash.
Aaron wants to join the Recon Corps.
What the fuck, Mikasa?
Aaron, is this true?
What? Yes.
You told me those days were over. That's it, Aaron. Bedtime forever.
Damn it, Mom, it's what I want to do.
How could you? How could you keep the secret side of your life hidden away from me for years?
You sure you haven't done the same yourself?
100% maximum? No chill! Oh! My living room! You broke my house.
I saw a spider, so I threw a table at it. It survived, so I threw a cabinet. This continued. The spider escaped. I assure you I mean to track it down.
Both of these are good. I'm not going to mention which one of them is 7 and which one is 6 because I cannot, for the life of me, tell which one is better than the other. They're both damn good. They both had to be on the list. They were the first two, they were the 6th and 7th names I wrote down. Not saying which order, but they are very good in the exact same way. These are more intellectual jokes. On both sides, they have the same type of humor. These are jokes that, while they do amp up the stupid of a lot of characters, the main character's not stupid. The side characters are sometimes really damn smart. And the humor, if you aren't aware of what's going to happen, it misses a lot. Now, that's more a thing in Unlimited Blade Works, whereas you just have to be able to follow the humor and Slap On Titan. But both of them have humor that requires you to stop and think about it. But for that reason alone, it's much harder to write a joke where you have to give your audience credit to understand what they're getting into. Because if you underestimate, you're just not going to hit any single jokes. And if you overestimate, it's just not going to be funny. It's worse than a failed joke. You don't even know it's a joke. These shows both establish funny ass humor. Now, the way they go about it is completely different. In Unlimited Blade Works Abridged, for example, they do it through picking fun at all the different references in the lore from the entire Fate universe, the Nazuverse, based on the Nazu author. Like, seriously, his name is Nazu, N-A-S-U. My autocorrect always changes to nausea. And if you try and understand all of the lore in one go, that is a very common effect too, but that's completely irrelevant. Every joke they make in there is in some way tied, usually to a past event, to something in the lore, to something that may be in a game but didn't come out at the time, so they can bring a reference in. And it works because it inquires upon, inquires upon the audience to know what they're getting into. A lot of shows, they just try and get a show that you can watch flat out, you get it, it's funny. This one, no, you're watching this. You've watched the original, or at least know of it. You might even be aware of the side works where so many of the characters relevant to the people brought in work, how they interact, what their characters are like. And it is a demanding show that looks at the author, that looks at the reader, and says, hey, you two, you should know each other. If you don't, get the fuck out. And in the latest episode of Unlimited Blade Works, as of the time of recording this, episode 3, which is actually the 4th episode on the list, They're very long episodes, so I figured I'd put it on there. Seriously, the average episode length is 30 minutes. Yeah. The average TV show on air is 20. So this is longer than most TV shows. This series, Unlimited Blade Works, is good. And they flat out call out in a very meta piece that if you're watching this and you aren't aware of the backstory for the characters, the backstory for the world, the backstory for just the magic system. Yeah, there's a backstory to the magic system. If you aren't aware of that and you're asking why is going on, well, that's not very funny. You're missing the point of the entire bridge. This is a shout out of love. This is a show where it is meticulously understood how things work, and they're just not making fun of the series. They are playing with it because they truly love it, and the fact that they put so much time, so much effort into the details that the original work didn't really bring in or kind of glossed over because it doesn't really work in a mass market appeal, which these shows actually now have. They are doing what the fans want to see because they truly love the universe. And it is amazing to see it because, honestly, the voice acting is amazing in them. I can say that about every show on this list, though, so I'm not going to mention it. Okay, I probably will. But again, like on every show, the voice acting is amazing. The jokes are good. But this is one of those shows where you need to have an understanding. On the other coin, for for numbers 6 and 7, we have Slap on Titan. Now, this is also intelligent humor, but unlike Unlimited Blade Works, where you need to know the material, Slap on Titan, you don't. It helps, but they change things so much that you don't really need to worry about that. Because what matters to make this show funny is that you have to just be aware of how to catch sarcasm, how to catch on that what you're seeing is not normal, how to catch on that, oh my god, they're making a long joke, the build up for the joke is as funny as the punchline, and you have to be able to maintain it in your head because they're going to make a joke and they're going to run with it for episodes, and every time they bring it up it's funny. But then the episodes, they build on each other, the jokes, they build on each other, the characters get weirder. Slap on Titan follows the show very closely. One episode is almost the equivalent of one episode. It's not quite there. The show moves forward a little slower because it has an actual full-length season. But this is good. There are multiple episodes of this. 18 came out just... Okay, it's been months now, and I'm hoping 19 comes out. Let's see what happens. What makes this show stand out is they've made Armin truly terrifying. And even more than that, they established how they were going to make humor work right off the bat with the first big joke. It has a slow intro, and by that I mean the first minute, where it's like just Mikasa and Eren in a field. It's like, yeah, you're establishing the character. There's kind of a few jokes in there, but that doesn't really do it. It's literally just introduction of the characters so you know their voices before you get into the actual city. The first interaction with Eren and Hannes, probably butchering his name, but I don't care. And then just the whole scrawl, where not only do they drop so much exposition, but they make the exposition a giant dump of humor. And they actually interact with the two. What makes that interesting is not just that they have interesting exposition, and that is very difficult in anything not to Abridged. Not just that the jokes are redefining the series for how they're going to make later jokes, it's that they're combining the two together to make funny exposition that is completely reshaping the narrative of the entire show and setting up the core conflict of Eren's mother's a whore. But they did it over the course of a bunch of different jokes that built on each other and just were funnier because of it. I have literally just said in seconds what they spent minutes going over. What they did is more memorable, funnier, and just downright impressive from a writing standpoint. As an English major, I'm looking at this and going, you did comedy, you established the characters, you set up their interactions, their characterization, and you still made it actually hit timing-wise. It's not so late that you kind of feel like, oh yeah, they added that in. But it's not so early that it's like, wow, you're hitting this over the head right away. If they didn't have those few early jokes that kind of fell flat just to establish the characters, this would be way too much, way too fast. Because they are dropping a lot on you. They're dropping that there's a lot different between this and the real show. Again, have I mentioned Aaron's mom is a whore in this? And that is a plot point that comes up multiple times. And every single joke in some way shows that there's another change. Like his mother's a whore. I'm going to keep talking about that because that is a big one. But I also mentioned Armin. The Crimson King himself. That fucker. This Armin has the same annoying voice you expect from every variation of him. Every damn one. He gets crazier and crazier and crazier every time you see him. But I'm not talking like the, I'm going insane crazy. He's that too, yeah. But this is the, I know what I'm thinking is mad, but I need to do it now. I'll enjoy it. It'll be fun. Yes. If you think that's an overreaction, seriously, just go rewatch the last episode. I am actually doing a very cut down job of just how crazy but well thought out he was. I don't even want to go over it because it's kind of freaky how well he played off the evil crazy genius angle. But what made it really work is when he's against the wall, they're about to execute Armin. Well, him too, but Aaron. Keeping those names for that. And in the show, there's a bunch that happens. I've seen other takes of it. For example, Reality Punch Studios did their take and he did a musical number to get out of it. That was fucking hilarious. But it doesn't take the cake. This, though, was an entire screed of all the vitriol and evil and just the over-the-top crazy that is Armin in competition to try and scare the living pants off everyone not to kill them. And by the end of it, you're like, oh my god. Quickly, run to the Titans for safety if you have to. And I'm not sure that's an overreaction. And they play it forward. They play it crazier. They get better. And it's just good. The few other shows that have been mentioned in the list before redid the characters. They redefined them. They brought them higher in intensity. They just... And when I say redefine, I should mention that is just inverting them to be the opposite and funnier for that reason. This show, it just chooses how they want to play the character. Some are very close to the original, like Gene, however you say his name. He's a douchebag. Yeah, just kind of is. He's very close to his canon counterpart. You want to punch him in the face. But he's just a fun character to have around. So they just make different jokes about that. Aaron is Titan! Titan! Kill all Titans! That pretty much stays the same, yeah. Mikasa is super competent and in love with Aaron, but nobody knows that's named Aaron. But they play those up when they need it, and then they play it down to be serious when they need it. But when they make a joke, they carry through, and they will expect you to follow along, to remember the jokes they made in previous episodes, maybe 10 ago, and to follow, to understand, and to get the entire line of the jokes. And even in the episode itself, they will make 5-10 minute jokes, and the payoff might not come to the end of the episode. And you have to maintain an understanding of the joke that happened. You can't just like, that's funny, move on to the next one. You have to remember, and that is requiring a lot of the audience. Because they have to remember what the hell's going on. They have to remember the different lines. They have to remember the punchlines from previous jokes, which are set up to jokes in the next seasons of episodes. But if you can do that, the payoff to the show is great because it requires thought to understand these jokes. But they're good. They are so very good. This is one of the shows, I'm trying not to spoil it because I mentioned 2 memorable scenes, but I would heavily recommend going to watch this right now. It is that good. Alright, sitting at number 5, we have 50% off the free abridged series by Octopus.
It's nice to see you as a young adult, kid. But with all the chemicals in the pool water, they make you crazy. Anyway, how's Haru?
You think you're better than me, huh? Huh? I'll kill you. I'll kill you.
He's great.
That's dang good to hear, son.
Now, Octopus has been in a lot of Abridged series. He has a very distinctive voice, and he's just funny. All of that, you should have guessed right off the bat, because he's on this list. What makes this show really unique is that it has a very low number of episodes, like maybe low 10s. And they're very short episodes, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, 10 being longer, some of them being 30 seconds, some of them being a minute. Some are 2 minutes long, some are 3 minutes long, but that's including intro and outros. It's very short episodes. But then there's the blooper reels, where they'll go over all the jokes they had and they didn't use, and some of them are funnier than the numbered episodes. So this is one of those shows where it's the entire collection of awesome, rather than just the strict numbers. The bloopers are as funny and better. What makes this crazy awesome, though, is not just the fact that they've changed it up, but the editing that goes with it. For example, Nagisa is a high-pitched, happy idiot who's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna be here. I'm like the mascot. But then that's the canon counterpart. This one, though, is a deep-throated pimp who's gonna be slapping a bitch. I'm a thug, yeah. He's commonly known as Thugisa, and he is probably the best part of this entire show, alongside literally everything else. The characters are insane. The gay undertones that were there in the original one are very much blatant. Like, oh my god, this isn't gay pride, this is gay, I'm gonna have this on, ha, yeah. I don't know why, I think I'm actually doing his voice well. It's good because, honestly, the understated nature of it just never really did it for me. The fact that they're making it very, very blatant, it's like, this is funny now because they're actually acknowledging the gay elephant in the room. That isn't it. What makes it on this list, is all the little edits they put in. All the visual jokes, like whenever Thugisa takes his shirt off, and it says Thug Life across his chest, and they manage to make it line up when he moves. The fact that they have all the jokes going and re-edited, and every time they bring a new character in, somehow they fit into this world of, oh my god, there's a thug swim club, and Thugisa is the normal one, and you just keep figuring out slow down. The main characters are insane, there's the basic premise, they have it set up. There's all the meta jokes that you get right off the bat. It's like, wow, hi, I'm Rin. It would really suck if we got into a fight over a swimming outcome and just had up a really tense sexual slightly relationship that destroyed our friendship and really set up a lot of conflict for the future. Yeah, that would really suck. Meta humor is that all of these together, along with just different variations of jokes that are crazier, more insane, and sometimes better, but would serve less of a purpose for the story. It's good. This is just good. Now, I almost didn't put it on the list because, again, the episodes are really short. The average episode length is pretty short. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe. But when I say the bloopers are here, I mean there's a lot of bloopers. Multiple bloopers, multiple episodes, multiple little shorts they put in there because they could. And every one of them is humorous in its own right. But that, plus just the redefinition of the characters, unlike the previous times I've used that word, these are redefined as completely different. They're not heightening how the character is, with the exception of Haru, who's just... It goes from, I like water, to, I fucking love water. Get in you. Oh yeah, you're wet, you bitch. Want me to just get in there and swim, yeah. You dirty ocean, you. Yeah. The fact that they edit in every single swear word with a dolphin... I don't know why they chose a dolphin other than the water reference, but sure, it's funny because they keep repeating it. Everyone there is now someone out of Grand Theft Auto. Every single one of them, without fail. With the exception of Haru, who's in his own little world. For example, he has voices in his head who have distinct personalities, and they assassinate one of the voices in his head, the one who happens to know how to read. And that's a plot point for later on where he forgets how to read and it freaks him out. This is one of the shows where it's a laugh a second, because they have such limited time to work with that a laugh a second is all you got time for. But the jokes don't end. The joke will be there in the next episode, and the one after that, and the one after that. And then you'll see that other ideas they had for the joke that were sometimes funnier, but they couldn't play off it as well. And it works. I can only say that so many times. This is one of the best shows out there, and while I wouldn't recommend it right off the bat because it's very fast moving, it's also one that anyone who loves abridging, anyone who loves this form of humor, will gravitate to because it's always good. Humor is hard to write, and there's not a bad joke in this series. Every single one is funny. It comes fast, it comes frequently, and if that sounded like an innuendo, it's pretty much on par with how that show goes. I would honestly recommend this to anyone. And the hardest thing I could do was not putting up harder in the list. That wasn't a mistaken word. I meant to say exactly what I said. Also higher, too. The only reason I didn't is because what comes after it... My mind's there now. Everything that follows after it holds its own to the same extent, if not better. But this one is definitely worth a spot on this list at number 5. For number 4, we have probably something a lot of people were expecting. Yu Abridged by Little Karibo.
I bestow unto you the last of the Egyptian god cards, the winged dragon of...
I thought it was called Mega Ultra Chicken.
Oh, that's right. I guess I forgot.
That is inexcusable. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I mean, it's just a trading card.
Stop ruining Yu-Gi-Oh, Marek!
This is the first American Abridged I know of. Apparently there was a German one about Harry Potter that came out a couple years prior. But this is the abridged most people go to as the trendsetter. This is what really defined what an abridged is. It's where you take a show, you shorten it down, you hype up the characters, you make them sillier, usually an asshole, and you play it off as humor. And it works. This is what set the tone for everything in this genre, almost. And Little Karibo, for the first few seasons, did all of the voices himself. And even to this day, because of how much demonstrated range he has, I have a hard time telling when it's not him. Because, like, you know what? It doesn't sound like Little Karibo. But I honestly believe he could push his voice to reply to that, and to do that reliably. Huh. Yeah. With very few exceptions, he could do almost anything, which is insane. What makes this good, though, is not only that it's still going on, not that it's in the 70s and 80s of episodes, that it's still being produced, that the quality improves in both skill, editing, voice acting, and just general humor every damn time. It's that those levels started back when there was nothing to compare it to. There was nothing to show. The first episode was pretty much a shot in the dark, and it's as funny now as it was then. It aged incredibly well, because the base humor used to amp up the characters just works. Yami is a flaming gay asshole. Yugi is kind of the short one who's kind of the quiet one, but you know how they say beware the quiet ones? That's very much him. Joey's an idiot, and they make fun of his Brooklyn accent. Yeah. Tristan, they frequently make reference to how he had his voice changed in the original English dub from 4Kids, and they change out his voice frequently because of that, especially early on. So much of the humor is based on meta-knowledge, knowledge of the series itself, not just abridged knowledge, but knowledge of Yu-Gi-Oh!, knowledge of what's to come, knowledge of the dubbing process and the interaction that went into importing it from Japan to America to make it a cartoon-style show when it's an anime, back when that's just what 4Kids did. And giving Brock jelly donuts. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean, but that's the thing. What makes this stand out on the list is that there has been an explosion in quality when it comes to dubbing in the last few years. And even before that, Little Karibo managed, all on his own without any help, to reach that level. He is the one who codified what an abridged can be. And he still pushes the boundaries frequently because of his own voice work, because of the different takes he has on the episodes. He has help now, and it is still just as great because it's a completely new show, because they've actually visibly updated the edits. It's just good. But the old stuff and the new stuff both have the same level of quality, and by that I mean you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh so damn hard. You're going to love the characters, and when the season ends and the antagonists temporarily go away, I said temporarily because nothing's ever really gone in the show. Whenever Maximilian Pegasus was defeated, whenever Melvin, and God, Melvin was awesome, is finally done, it is actually sad to see them go away, because you know that means they're going to have no more screen time unless crazy edits are introduced. And while that is not out of the realm of possibility or things that have happened, Ghost Nappa managed to get in there a few times, so you know, it's not going to be as likely. Now, there's a bunch of side works like the Council of Evil. I can't seem to find it on YouTube. It's very annoying. And they are also companion works to this piece, but they're not necessary. And unlike in free or 50% off abridged, they are not as integral to enjoying the series. This is strictly, you go through the number of episodes, and they're great. Now, there are movies, and they are also great in the series, but they're not directly connected. They're just an extra bit of awesome. I would highly recommend this because it's just good. Now, the reason it's so high on this list is not just because of how long it's been there. It's because of how they work with the characters. Specifically, the running gag of every single person being incredibly gay. But the joke is not usually that they're gay. It's that they're playing on the audience interpretation of, oh, we can't mention this back then. Oh, wow, ooh. Yeah, that might not play well. We need to censor this. For example, Sailor Moon with the cousins, if you know what I mean. And then you just drop it in here. It's like, no, we are fabulous. We are JoJo level fabulous. If you don't get the reference, just look it up. You'll probably won't thank me for that one, but you'll just look it up. Unless you actually know what JoJo is, in which case, yes, you'll thank me for that one. The characters are insane, but they are insane in ways that I would say make sense to the plot, but honestly, the plot is whatever they want it to be. They'll change things up, they'll make things more interesting. They have given backstory to characters who really didn't have it. They've shit on Bakura, because that's literally how the show treated him, even though he kind of became important, but I'm going to ignore that. It's just good, and it's been getting better over literally 80 episodes. Little Karibo has established something amazing, and he follows through. If you get a chance to watch this show and you haven't already, I can guarantee you're going to have a long journey ahead of you, and you're going to laugh every step of the way. I can't think of one episode to pull out that's the best, because so many of them qualify. And I keep thinking I found the best one, and I've thought that at least 5 different times now. But if you need to know what makes this show good, it's that they always push the boundary just a little bit further. They won't jump in right off the bat with the crazy, but they're going to move it forward. It's like, oh wow, didn't expect that. And then a little more, it's like, oh, that's crazy. And just a little more the next episode. And finally, you get to the 80th episode, or in my case, the 65th, and you look back and it's like, wow, this really changed. But it's still just as funny. You understand more about the characters. You like them more. And unlike a lot of shows, these characters, they're not as intensely different. They're played up differently, aspects are changed, but you can always get the feeling that that's actually kind of how they were characterized, just played up more. Not to the point where it's a different character. You understand the same thing about this character as you do about the canon counterpart. They're very similar in that respect. These are just funnier because the bottom has been pulled out and they're just allowed to go crazy. And it works. I would honestly recommend this because it's just funny. It gets better, and there's no bad episodes over the course of literally 80 plus episodes. As of just a few days ago, 81, I think. That's insane. And it keeps getting bigger, it keeps getting better. I keep getting told that even though I'm only on episode 65, the best is still yet to come because he just keeps adding more and it gets better and better. That is probably the highest praise I can think of for a show. That even though you've gone for literally a decade on it, you're still improving. And they started from a high point to start with, so it's not like they started from nothing. They have a good reputation behind them, and I can't wait to see what happens next with it. Alright, next up we have number 3, and I know there's a bunch of people who are probably going to understand what this one is. This is Something Winnie Entertainment's flagship series, Sword Art Online Abridged.
I want half.
I'm sorry, what?
I want half the coat. I did half the work. I should get half the coat.
No, it's not fabric I can cut. It's a bunch of ones and zeros.
Fine, then give me the ones.
Fuck you, I want the ones. Ugh, I am not having this argument. I'm dissolving this party.
Kirito, if you walk away with my half of the coat, I will make your life a living hell!
You know what? Fine, I'll give you the damn coat. Just send me a trade request.
What?
Oh, it's quite simple, really. Just open your menu.
You son of a bitch!
Yeah, I know. You can't really have a best abridged list without Something Winnie Entertainment on it. You can't have it with Sword Art Online Abridged. It is just so damn good. It is a phenomena in abridging. This is something that raises to the highest level you set. It is something that raises the highest level you've ever seen set in an abridged. And it matches and even exceeds it. Every step of the way, it's funny. They start off with great jokes right off the bat in the form of Kirito. Now, I need to back up a step. This one isn't just about the humor, but it's also about the characterization. And I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people with this one, who I've probably, well, if you're still here, I've probably pissed you off somehow by not mentioning your show. You have my apologies. I realize I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, and I kind of deserve it. Sword Art Online kind of sucked. Not the first season, it was perfectly serviceable. But at least in my own opinion, I can never get into it because the characters seem... he's there. I really figured it's like, yeah, social loner, very good. Yeah, he's okay. It's very banal. Now, it's very popular. I just never really got into it because it didn't really interest me. What makes this interesting, though, isn't that they tried to take apart the series. And you can tell with the amount of time, I would be very surprised if they didn't truly love the show. And you know what? That's great. What makes this so damn good, though, is how they've reimagined Kirito as being, honestly, closer to what he's kind of described as. Because in the show, he's this quiet loner who's actually really charismatic and great with the ladies, and very powerful and can really do all... And then you get to the actual way he's portrayed to start with. It's like he's a loner, he's a gamer, he has no friends, and he's a massive asshole, which is kind of more what his actual character would be if he wasn't a Mary Sue style. And that on its own is not too odd. It's just a heightening of character traits and playing them off and making it funny. What truly makes this shine, though, is that they gave him character development. They beat down his character into a trope, into a joke, and then they let him grow over the course of the season. Over the course of the 13 episodes. I say 13 because technically it has premiered already, but at the time of recording this, it was literally copyrighted and taken down immediately by YouTube. But I'm going to count it as being out. They've shown growth of a character who really kind of didn't. Sword Art Online's biggest mistake, and from what I've read mostly, is that it just kind of moves along, new show, new baddie, same Kirito, because he's Mary Sue-ish, and it's not bad, it's handled adequately, it just is handled adequately. Where Sword Art Online Abridged, they handle it masterfully. Every single second, you're laughing, or you're wondering why you're still laughing because something really crazy just happened, and you're actually feeling sorry for the character as you're laughing at a joke he just made in despair. And yes, I am referring to all the different episodes around Christmas where you just watch Kirito slightly become a better human being, only to have it crushed in the Christmas episode where he's like, yeah, thanks, balls. He just got around to calling him Klein. He's like, no, there is nothing. I am dead on the inside. You see him build up, and then he's broken down. And then over the course of the season, he's built up again. There's hilarity everywhere. There's attachment to characters. There is honest development to the point where Asuna's brought in, instead of just being the number one waifu that you have to have because she's the only one, the first one, and technically, even though he has a harem, he doesn't. Yeah, that's him. She's insane. She's out of touch. And I swear to God, the best scene up until they had the season finale was her meeting Tiffany, who also is played by Octopimp, so I kind of just like his performance to start with because Octopimp's awesome. And they just redefine the characters. And it works better. If you don't know what I mean by better, just go rewatch the scene I'm just going to go put on the side here.
Hey, Thunderlion, how's it hanging?
Kirito? Well, if it isn't my least favorite customer.
Nah, you just say that because I'm not dumb enough to buy any of your crap.
Yeah, well, if there's one upside to being trapped with these idiots, it's that they'll buy pretty much anything.
Ah!
What's the matter with you? Why would you bring her here? I thought we were friends.
What? I don't understand. What's the problem?
Hey, T-Dog. What is up in his house?
Are you crying?
There's just so much beauty in the world, you know?
And due to the magic of editing, you have now watched it. Yes, it is amazing. This is what I mean. This is something that the normal characters, it's not really there because it's just more that they didn't really need to have for the show to work, so they didn't add it in. This, as they've introduced in the Abridged, though, gives the character a depth. It's an asshole-ish depth, but it works and it's consistent. And as they play on the character that she's very yandere, that she is going to be very, very socially unaware and it's going to come out terribly, they follow through on that. What makes it amazing, though, is that over the course of the entire season, Kirito grew. The other characters are there too, and they even call it out in the final episode of the season, episode 11, that there are other characters, they have adventures that don't involve Kirito, and he just completely dismisses it because he's still an asshole. Even though he's grown, he's still him. If you want a better in-depth analysis of why this show is truly masterful, there are multiple channels who have done this, and they will go into much more detail about why it is amazing. I'll just stick to the very shallow but very accurate way of it's funny, it always gets better, the characters grow, which you do not normally see in an Abridged, and kinda didn't happen in the canon side. And have I mentioned it's just really good. They edit things in when they need to, they make the lip flaps masterful, which honestly everything on this list does that, so it doesn't stand out, but it's not something to laugh at, because you're laughing at literally everything else. It's just really damn good. Alright, and now we're up to number 2. And this one, yeah, there's probably a whole bunch of people like, yeah, no, this is definitely on the list. Hellsing Abridged.
I'm not gonna come swinging at Dracula. I'm killing Alucard!
You do know that it's just my name spell.
Of course I do! Shut up and bring him out!
Very well, if you insist.
Hey there, Padre, how's little Timmy? You know what's good for getting cum stains out of altar boy robes? Holy water! Did you miss me?
Now, I'm probably going to get some flack for this one, because I did mention I will only put up one show from each company that does the production. And since Team 4-Star also does a few others, like Final Fantasy VII Abridged, which I actually am a huge fan of, but doesn't seem to have as much traction yet. Or as much traction yet. Or maybe this other one you might have heard of called Dragon Ball Z Abridged. I know, it's not on the list. No, I honestly believe Hellsing Abridged is better. Not because Dragon Ball Z Abridged isn't amazing and it set a bar so high that it's only within the last 4 or 5 years that abridging has truly started again, because prior to that, everything who did like spoofs and little dubs, they were funny and kind of counted as abridged. No, they all died out because Team 4-Star set the bar so high that you need to be professional to do something for free to even keep up. But they set that bar. But that was just Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And there's some rough patches at the beginning. It's funny, but there's issues. And while that is not bad, and it's good throughout, and it would fully deserve to be on this list, Hellsing Abridged is better. It's funny. It makes you laugh absurdly hard to the point where you will need to rewind the video to rewatch sections you watched, because you laugh so hard that you partially blacked out and asphyxiated, just enough that you lost the memory and need to rewatch it again. And you're not even going to complain that this might be the 4th time you've done it. You don't remember anymore because the brain damage is adding up and you still want to do it because it is still just as funny. And all you have is the memory of the laughter, and it just sits there. And it's amazing every time. I'm a fan. I'm sure no one got that. Every damn episode is funny. Some jokes hit better than others. Some jokes miss. Some jokes are so irreverent to what is socially unacceptable that they are funny in the most disturbing. I'm talking about Yawn in the 3rd episode. No, 2nd episode. I'm talking about Yawn. Yawn Valentine. You know what I mean. Skull fucking for everyone! I didn't realize until I saw it, but that was very accurate to his real characterization. They just decided to be more crude. And it was funnier because of that. But every line here is good. But in the same way that Sword Art Online Abridged showed real character growth, that's one of the reasons I truly love this show. Because of how they treat Alucard. Now, Alucard actually has depth and growth and human moments for a monster in Abridged, the canon variant. In the Abridged, he is a monster. He is evil. And you establish that right off the bat with the fact that he's okay with mass murder and child rape, evil. And it's like, oh my god. Like, you're laughing every step of the way, but if you start thinking about it, he's a villain. But then something happens over the course of the show where even though he's doing truly horrible things, and you can tell he's not a good person, even though he's on the good side, you come to like him as a character because of just how unrestrained and understandable he is. It's not just that he's the monster that nobody understands and needs to be restrained unless he goes out of control, which is kind of how you're supposed to look at him in the canon variant. In this one, he is an amalgamation of souls, which is actually his power in the canon. But in this one, the effect is much more of a zany personality that the more you think about it, the more of an everyman it becomes. This is the crazy everyman, the funny everyman, the troll on the internet who is making you outrageously mad, but he's also so damn funny about it that even though you want to punch him in the face, you want to go and buy him a beer because at the same time, you kind of like him for his insanity. And it's only hammered home in the latest episode to come out. I'm hoping by the time this comes out, the next one is out. Episode 9 and 10 are going to be dropped together as the final episode. But I already know I'm going to love it. Because every step of the way, the characters are amazing. The story is amazing. The musical pieces they have chosen to accompany it are amazing. The jokes they put in are very biting. This is one of the most hard-hitting comedies on YouTube. It's an irreverence to just how dark the material is that truly sets it apart. They joked about the Catholic sex abuse scandals, and this happened years ago, 7 years ago. This was still when it was new, and there's even more information coming out now, and they pull those jokes out constantly. And it's hilarious, and they're quotable. And then they just redefined the characters. They've given them songs. They did a rap based on Hamilton for Alexander. I have the shirt. It is amazing. They are great singers. They are great voice actors. They do an amazing job. But what makes this amazing isn't just the level of the humor. It's that every line is memorable. You listen to this and you will find yourself quoting it for days, for months, for years to come. And every time you do, it's still funny. There is a rewatchability to this series that is insane because most things you watch it once and you know what's happening next. If you know the punchline already, it shouldn't be funny. And yet this is because the delivery was so spot on. The jokes are still just as cutting now as they were then. It's still good this much later. And that is an impressive feat on its own. Now, they don't redefine the characters. They don't hype them up as much as some of the other shows. These are still just the honestly mostly insane characters who are honestly honest. And that's the best way I could put it. Honestly honest. Yeah, I was going to go with some big spiel, but that is literally the best way to describe them. They are what they are. They're not good people, with the exception of Police Girl. She is good people. But they know what they are. And they're maybe not okay with it, but they're going to run with it. And they're not going to hide from the fact that, okay, Alucard's a mass murdering vampire, but he's okay with that. He is an amalgamation of suffering of all the souls he has completely eaten. But you love him because he's so damn human. And it's just an honest awareness of it that I think the original didn't quite have. And that's just my personal characterization of this. In the original, Alucard was a monster. He hated himself because he was a monster. But he also reveled in the fact that he's a monster because he made these choices. And he always got the little disturbing interior knowledge that while he might be playing the act of the monster and he has fully lived down to it, there's always that little bit of human in him that wants to be killed, because then a human has vanquished the monster and good has won. Because that's what made him a monster, because good didn't win. And those parts are still there in Alucard. But the self-hatred is mostly gone, and more, I'm a monster, it's what I am, I've made my choices. But because he accepts who he is, and not just revels in it, but he accepts what comes with it, of being the monster, it makes him more human, oddly enough. And how he has his last moments with Alexander, how he says, my friend. Those moments are priceless because it's something I truly believe was a failing of the original, that they didn't do that. That this variant of Alucard is closer to what they have established him as he should have been. Irreverent, filled with all the evil of every damn person, and just insane, but at the same time, lovable, because he is so aware of what he is. And that when he finally admits to the friendship between them, it is the most touching damn moment in the entire show. And it's also why I was so incredibly pissed at how they ended the last episode, and how they brought back Walter, because they had achieved an honest human connection with something that should not have honest human connections. Alucard, based on himself, based on how he sees himself, should be inhumane, unsympathetic, and evil. And while the original establishes that he's not all those things, they still have that veneer of I'm the monster. And while it works and it's very dignified, this one is human, because he is nothing but a collection of human failings. And while it looks monstrous, it is very understandable failings. And that is so very empathetic that it makes this character more real. And that is why it is an amazing show. Because as great as all of Dragon Ball Z Abridged is, as much as I truly love what they are doing with Final Fantasy VII Abridged, they have made a great character better. And that is not just hard, it's nearly impossible. Because they didn't redefine him. He's still the exact same person. They just showed you how it could work in such a way that you truly love who he is portrayed as. And it's great because of that. Before we move on to the number 1 Abridged, there's just a few honorable mentions that we need to go over quickly. The first up is Ruby ABRG by K Ruby Productions. They're a relatively recent production company on YouTube, and frankly, they're way better than they have any right to be. Their voice acting is very high quality. Their production value is only improving every single episode. And the fact that you can notice it because they are re-editing scenes to fit what they need, and are thinking about bringing in VR chat elements to create scenes on demand is just, it's not just impressive, it's mind-blowing. The reason they're not higher on the list is mostly because I resorted to flipping coins, and because the other competition is so damn crazy. But they are more than willing to be on this honorable mention list because they are truly, really damn funny. After that is Konosuba Abridged by Lord Daedrith. Now, Lord Daedrith set themselves up, both the person and the company working with it, set themselves up for a really hard time by trying to make Konosuba funnier. Konosuba is hilarious. Even just the subtitled version, which I barely understand, is making me roll around laughing as is. And when the dub finally comes out, I'm really looking forward to that. And then, where Daedrith with it, there was like, how do you make something that's already hilarious funnier? Well, in this case, it's make it meta. Make jokes that are absolutely insane. Hype up the unreality. Go to 11 and then find out that's not far enough and just keep going. This is one of the most insane things I have ever seen on YouTube, and it's amazing for that. Also, Australian FedEx guy. If you don't know who that is, fix that. Go watch it right now. You will not regret it. It is probably drink-inducing, if you know what I mean, and completely worth it. After that, we have Log Horizon Abridged by Fat Dog Studios. In this case, the reason they are amazing is because of Menu-sama. Like, the show's good, the jokes are good, the humor's good, the editing's good. Menu-sama is amazing. He stole the show. He was just a one-off joke in the first episode that they were in production of and then happened to submit into TIBA for Team 4-Star, and Menu stole the show. It's not that he's the best part, It's that he is by far just way more entertaining than he had any right to be, and they keep playing with it in every episode. The show is good, but Menu Sum is the best part. And here's one that I'm kind of surprised I didn't put higher on the list, but again, competition. Code Meant by Purple Eyes. This is one of the older Abridged series out there, and Purple Eyes is honestly insane what he's willing to do, what he's willing to edit in, what he has achieved on YouTube, and the fact that he's done this over the course of years, and he's still releasing content, if very sporadically. But Code Meant is truly one of those things you just look at, and it's insane. Now, the polish is a little lesser than some of the other shows on this list because this is well before Team 4-Star codified what to expect out of Abridged, but it is just good, and the humor holds up, which is really damn hard. Humor does not age well sometimes. This aged really well, and it brought us Soup just a few years ago, because it still updates very slowly, but it still updates. As in, you might be waiting the next 5 years, and it's already been 3 years since the last episode. But the last episode was in 2015, and it brought us the Soup bit. I have seen stores named in real life that are clothing stores named Soup, and I am almost terrified to ask if they named it based on this Abridged. And if they did, I might be pressured to go in there, even though they seem to be a women's clothes store. It might be worth it. Wouldn't do anything with it. I'll actually give it to my girlfriend. Ooh, that's a good note to self. Remember that for later. And finally, okay, this is kind of a cop-out because this is both How to Be an Adventurer and Fate Zero by Yaroshian. Hey, it's the honorable mentions. I'm allowed to add both from the same person. And the reason is because, personally, I think How to Be an Adventurer is his best show, but I know for a fact that if I don't mention Fate Zero, Pretty Guardian will find out. And just the fact that I mentioned that previous part will mean I'm in trouble right now. So, dear, if you're watching, I apologize. But yeah, I think How to Be an Adventurer is funnier. Fate Zero is hilarious. It goes through the Fate Zero timeline, and it rips the first season of the show to shreds in the most hilarious way possible. It was so damn funny. Pretty Guardian, my girlfriend, jumped into the reviews because she wanted to watch more right away. And she will quote everything in that show, and has for literally over a year now, because it is truly so damn funny. This one especially, these two shows, they were the hardest decision not to put on the list. And I'm still not entirely sure I was right about that. If I redo this list later on years from now, I might very well switch this in instead. It was such a tight choice, and I am not confirming nor denying I might have settled it with a coin toss. Coin toss. Well, I tried to talk today. With a coin toss. It didn't land on its side. We're not going there. You know what I mean? Alright, and we finally come to the best Abridged series on YouTube. And for this one, oh boy. You know, this is going to sound like a cop-out, but I'm going to do this in another video because this one is going to take some explaining. Because this is not Dragon Ball Z Abridged. This is not Sword Art Online Abridged. This is not Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. This, the best Abridged on YouTube, is My Hero Academia Abridged by Joyride Entertainment. Thanks for watching, everyone. And for everyone who's supporting me on Patreon, thank you so very much. It does make it so much easier to get these videos out, along with a bunch of other new original series that I'm starting to work on. So again, to all the Patreons who are helping supporting this, thank you. And if you're interested in joining, there is a link on the screen. For everyone else, thanks for watching again. See you guys in the next one.